the Attorney General, who's running for governor, one of the front runners, has said the party is an urban legend. The man in the sworn statement says not only was it not an urban legend, but the Attorney General was there. John Truscott, who was for 3 terms the spokesperson for Governor Engler, ran the DeVos campaign for governor, and now working with Congressman Pete Hoekstra in his attempt to be elected governor and win the primary, which is only 7 days away, is on the other end of our line. Good morning.
Good morning, Michael Patrick.
Well, what are we to think? Now, Dan Perot and the Attorney General say that this fella is making this all up out of whole cloth and that Norman Yatuma is just doing it to get attention, to grind his axe against the Attorney General, that it's one of those so-called surprises. If it were the general election, we'd call it an October surprise, but here it is, a July surprise. What's your reaction?
It is a surprise. I don't disagree with that at all, but, I think the broader question here is, on one hand, Mike Cox said, probably about 9 months ago, that he would unseal his deposition, which probably would answer a lot of the questions in this case, but he has yet to do so. The judge has issued several orders showing him how he could do it, but I'm sure the Attorney General knows the law and how to do it, and I think that would probably be the easiest and quickest way to really relieve any doubt that may exist over whether he was there and whether this party existed or not.
So I thought the judge said the deposition had to remain sealed. That's not true?
He said it had to remain sealed until Mike Cox files a motion to unseal it. The judge won't and can't do it unilaterally. Mm-hmm. However, if Mike Cox, as the witness in this case, filed a motion to have it unsealed, he would do so.
Wasn't it true that when the Attorney General Mike Cox was going in to give his deposition in this case, which I understand lasted more than 7 hours, he was very public in saying that he wanted the deposition to be made public. He wanted the entire thing to be available to sort of be transparent.
He actually said on the record that he had wanted to actually hold the actual deposition itself in public to increase transparency and to really lift any of the doubts that may exist over his involvement or any potential cover-up that have been reported in the media. We're about 9 months later, and he's still, you talk about transparency, he has not filed the motion to unseal it. He has not talked about it. I think he was just hoping it would all go away.
What are we to make of the fact that the fella, is this an unusual way that he's decided to come public? In an affidavit, we don't know his name. We know that he says he's afraid for his life, so he's not out there in public. And then we hear that he's got a criminal record, he's got a legal record, he's a motorcycle gang guy. I mean, what does that all add up to?
Well, I think the whole story, everything surrounding it, the situation, everything is strange, which really raises the issue of, this election has to be one about integrity. This state has had enough in terms of controversy, in terms of downtimes, in terms of problems. The city of Detroit certainly has had enough scandal. And do we really want to elect a governor who's got this cloud over his head that who knows how and when it'll actually be lifted? So, what we're asking voters to do is look at the integrity, the honesty, and the character of the candidates. And I think that, if they look at Pete Hoekstra, they'll find that he certainly fits the bill as a strong leader and a man of integrity and honor.
Let's take the other side just for the fun of it. If you were Attorney General Mike Cox and the party never did happen and you never had anything to do with it and you properly investigated to the extent of your jurisdiction, and still this was coming at you over and over and over, it would have to be maddening and very, very frustrating, wouldn't you think?
I would not want to be in his shoes right now. But again, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, file a motion to unseal the deposition. That will probably answer a lot of the questions. And until you do so, that cloud is going to stay over your head. And what you have to do in a situation like this, in a crisis management type situation, is come clean, tell the truth, and put it all on the table and let people judge for themselves.
What do you think is in that? If it's true what you're saying, he's sort of talking out both sides of his mouth. On one hand, he says he wants the deposition to be made public. And on the other hand, you're saying he could easily do that, but hasn't taken the steps to do it.
Right. It's very simple to do. But, I also find irony here in that, he was asked to provide his phone records. As I think it was in terms of a subpoena. Mm-hmm. Phone records, he provided the last 4 years, basically his second term in office, but not the first 4 years. And he said he couldn't find who his provider was. Well, I think most people would go to their bank account or bank records and go online and find out where they wrote their checks to pay their phone bill, and that's pretty much how you turn that up. he said he had all the power of his office and all the investigators looking for his phone records, but yet within hours they found out who had filed this secret affidavit, but yet he still can't find his phone records. There are just so many questions that still exist out there that have yet to be answered.
What sort of political hit do you think he will take then? I don't know if there'll be any serious polling between now and the primary. We're only 7 days away. But the last we looked, he was virtually tied for the lead. I guess sort of statistically tied for the lead with Congressman Hoekstra.
It's really tough to say what kind of hit. I don't think we'll know for a couple of days. But clearly I wouldn't want to be in his shoes as you're heading into an election. And what this does is just divert you away from your message to deal with controversy. And as any candidate would acknowledge, that's not a very good position to be in.
Well, what does he have to do? Does he have to put out television commercials now? Does he? What would you do if you were advising him?
Well, I think everything is programmed. I mean, I would not. You go on the air and try to defend every charge, then there's another one that pops up, and so you really can't react to that. It's getting kind of late to cut new ads, although it can be done, but it'll take a day or two to get them in the rotation and get them placed. I think the easiest thing for him to do right now would be to unseal the deposition, and that would potentially erase all doubt, or it'll create more doubt, and maybe that's why he hasn't done so yet.
Why did the judge seal the deposition in the first place? Do we know?
I'm not a lawyer, so I don't really know, but I think all of these are sealed until the parties involved would file a motion to unseal them.
I see. And now we know that the wife and father of Kwame Kilpatrick have asked a federal judge to quash a request to depose them in the lawsuit.
Given the news yesterday, maybe we know why.
They don't want any part of it, and they're going to plead the fifth if they're drawn in there. They don't want to talk about the possibility of this party. And you start to add these things up, and I guess it's all circumstantial. But stay tuned is what we're saying.